Hello everybody, this is Serpent, and in this video I'll be showing off the 1.9 update to my graphing calculator mod, which adds intercompatibility with CC Tweaked, which is a 1.12 branch of ComputerCraft. It's all pretty straightforward really, so this shouldn't take too long. We've got a computer program here. Let's just enter into it. So this is how ComputerCraft works. You create a program or edit a program by typing edit and then the name of the program. And inside, we've got a few basic lines right here. First, we use the peripheral.wrap function, and we're wrapping right since the graph is on the right of the computer. And this produces a map of functions that represent the graph. Then we can take that map and call the functions in it. So this is just a subset of several functions that I've provided. Basically, you can set all the things that you would normally set here, and then generate the graph, or refresh the graph. So that's pretty straightforward. And if you want to see all the functions, then you can do so with some of the helping interface in ComputerCraft, but I'll also put a list in the comments section. So like I said, this is all pretty straightforward stuff. You set the parameters that you want set, and that's done with functions like set RGBA, set function, set collision, set texture, set rotation. All those things can be found here, described here. And once you've set all the stuff you want to set, then you call graph.refresh. And the refreshing of the graph will sync the changes from server to client, since this code runs on the server, and also regenerate the graph so that the changes take effect. So let's just run this program now that I've talked about what it does. You do that by just typing the name of the function. And it has been run. So now the graph should be collidable, and it is. And we've changed the texture to dirt, and the color a little bit, and whatever other couple of things we did. I think it's also rotated. It should be. Yeah, so rotated by most of 90 degrees. I couldn't remember the exact number of radians. So yeah, that's one thing that I should mention. The rotation command sets in radians, because that's what my mod uses inside. When you type a degree number here, it's translated into radians for the program. And then the other couple of things I wanted to mention are when you're setting something that takes an array value, or when you're setting multiple values, like RGBA sets multiple values, it's these four here and this one. Or if you're setting something like range or A domain or B domain or rotation or translation or scale, all those things, they take multiple values. And so when you're doing that with my setup here, you use a map of values. So this is 10, 150, 150. And that's the RGB values. You notice I didn't define alpha, and that's because if you give it an array that is shorter than it expects, it will pad the remaining values in the array with the values that are already there. So basically, if you're setting RGBA and you provide one value, then you're just setting R with that one value. If you provide 2, then you set R and G. If you provide 3, you set RGB. So pretty straightforward there, but ought to be explained. Next thing is the function. So this is a pretty cryptic string, or it looks to be. It's the multiplication of x and z, but you don't have to type that, don't worry, because over here, when you build an equation with the blocks, it produces a string up here. This is the serialization string of the function. This represents all the blocks in such a way that it can be sent across the network, and the blocks are reconstructed from the serialization string. And so when you're setting the function, you do so with that string, but good news is that you can just copy-paste from this thing once you've created the function blocks. So for example, let's say signum, maybe just signum x times z. So that's a pretty boring graph. But it produces this string up here, and we can just copy-paste that. Everything else is pretty straightforward, but I guess I'll mention once more. I'm sure I mentioned this in a previous video, but if you want to set the texture, then you set the texture to the resource location of the texture. So if you want to set a Minecraft texture, it'll be Minecraft : and then the path to the texture. If you want to set a mod texture, then you use the mod ID. So for example, graphing calculator 3D, I think that's the mod ID. And then you can go to blocks and block mesh. I don't remember what it's called. Grid. There we go. Oh, and save and run. and there you go. So the texture has been changed. And this works with other mods, of course, too, but you have to figure out what the resource location is. So I could color it to a computer by assuming that the path is similar, or since that didn't work, I can look into the jar file for ComputerCraft and find a nice texture that actually exists, like blocks add underscore modem underscore face. I think that's everything I wanted to talk about, though. A practical application of this, if you can call it practical, would be obstacle courses. That's sprung to mind a couple times for me. You could have computers control the graphing calculator blocks to cause little platforms to drift across back and forth that you would have to hop across. Or you could create a platform with a graph whose opacity gradually diminished until it no longer became collidable, at which point you'd fall through. So, fun stuff could be done with this, I think. However, that's going to be that for today. Hopefully this video was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.